Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about the presidential election that's currently going on here in the United States of America. Both President Trump and his opponent Joe Biden have been ramping up their campaigns, and it's getting rather interesting out there, to say the least. I'm really looking forward to seeing them debate one day, too. That's coming pretty soon from now. Not real soon, but maybe in another month we'll get to see them debate, if that even happens. Because, the problem with that is Joe Biden's already showing signs that he might back out of the debates. He doesn't want to, get out there too much. His campaign's trying to keep him hidden. He's been like hiding in his basement for months. He already said he's not doing rallies, and he's just, avoiding as many public appearances as he can. Every time he says something silly when he gets in the live situation, he just puts his foot in his mouth. He forgets where he's at. He can't remember things. He says wrong things, all that kind of stuff. And today, we're not talking about all his gaffes and goofs. Today, we're actually talking about part of his plan. One of his new plans has actually been confirmed by a campaign official. They say if Biden wins the election, he will certainly be raising our taxes. Now, that's a bad sign, a bad thing for a lot of people. A lot of voters depend on not having to pay a lot of taxes. We need to keep as much of our money as we can. So when Democrats promise to raise them for silly things, for crazy extreme circumstances that really aren't necessary and aren't what we should be putting our money towards, well, that obviously is going to upset people. I think people are going to reconsider voting for Biden after they hear more about this story and the fact that he's going to raise our taxes for a very, very expensive plan. We're going to talk about that more soon. I'm going to get to a video as well. We're going to go over this whole story. Let's start off with this tweet. It's from Young Americans for Liberty. It says, Biden campaign official confirms it. If elected, Biden will pay for $2 trillion climate plan by raising taxes. That's a bureaucrat's way of saying you're paying for it. Yeah, that's right. They're going to have to raise a lot of money. $2 trillion is a ton of dough for this climate plan. I'm not sure what that's all about, but it really sounds like it's something similar to like a Green New Deal plan, like what AOC proposed last year, the proposed plan that failed, of course. No one voted for it. It was a terrible, terrible failure for the party. But despite failing on the climate change stuff and not really winning over a lot of votes for it, they're still pushing it. And I think this is also a sign of Joe Biden getting further to the left. Like as soon as he secured the nomination and became the de facto frontrunner, he started veering further to the extreme left. He needed to pick up people like the Bernie Sanders crowd and the AOC votes, the younger, more socialist, more communist kinds of liberals that are farther to the left. And Joe Biden's been courting them. He's been courting them a lot. He's been kind of, pandering to this wider, further to the left base. And I think this is part of that too. They're going to raise our taxes for this climate plan to save the environment or something. We don't have specifics on that, but it already sounds silly to me. Obviously, we want to save the world. We love this planet. We should do things to help with that. But if it involves taking a lot of money from all the taxpayers like you and me and other American citizens, I'm definitely going to fight against that. And I also will question their whole situation. Do they know that this is going to help? We need details, but before we get too far into it, let's go ahead and check out this attached video and see what it says.
The second part of his four-part Build Back Better economic plan. The $2 trillion proposal focuses on climate change. It calls for a boost in clean energy and infrastructure, net zero carbon emissions by 2050, and a carbon pollution-free power sector by 2035. No surprise, the plan was quickly slammed by President Trump. Someone who helped craft the plan, Biden campaign senior policy advisor Jake Sullivan. He joins us now. Jake.
So this is going to be the Biden guy confirming these details. He's filming in his very fancy kitchen. Doesn't look like he's suffering much. He doesn't look like he's worried about paying extra taxes because, he's probably super rich. And that's where these people come from. These liberals, they don't identify with the normal person. They live in these ivory towers and they don't really care if, taxpayers are going to have to pay for this plan. They don't think about money like that. And yeah, you could argue, obviously, our side has a lot of leaders who are rich too. Trump is a billionaire. We're not going to I'm not going to ignore that, but he's a billionaire who understands normal people. He recognizes the fact that we want to pay lower taxes. We want to help the environment, but we don't want to make ourselves broke in the process. Stuff like that doesn't get past Trump. But with Biden and his people, they're these rich liberal elites living in fancy ivory towers and crap like that. And yeah, already this plan is sounding a little extreme. Right here, it says costing $2 trillion, boosting clean energy. And then it's like super forward thinking, which is like a little worrisome to me. I mean, I know we have to plan for the future, but do we really want to let Biden come into office and make plans for the next 30 years? Like he's setting up stuff in motion that's going to be changing our whole society for 30 years. And like, he's going to think he could do that in his first term of office, like right away. Like, this is sounding like he's going to try and pass this like immediately. And I know that they need plans and they need details when you're building their campaign and stuff. But I mean, this seems a little extreme, a little too forward thinking for me. I don't want to be paying for this crap for 30 years. And, shifting major cities to public transportation. That sounds good. Like, there's good details in here, but it's just a little too much. And, the fact of the matter is lots of people are going to be against getting their taxes raised.
Payne Senior Policy Advisor Jake Sullivan. He joins us now. Jake, a $2 trillion climate plan, very ambitious, but that is a lot of money. I realize our deficit is currently hitting record highs and people don't seem to care about deficits anymore. But how do you pay for that? $2 trillion, that's a big number.
Well, first, let's put this in context. Donald Trump and the Republican Congress passed a $2 trillion tax cut 3 years ago that overwhelmingly went to big corporations and to the wealthy. And then this year, they've shoveled hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars in direct corporate bailouts and loans to big corporations.
Okay, so he's dodging the question. If you notice, he just starts talking about Trump and what his plans and what he's spent money on and cut taxes and stuff. I mean, cutting taxes is generally good, even if it's to corporations. It gives them more money to hire more people and to, pay people better and stuff like that. So, I mean, this is an odd pivot. I think he's avoiding the first question that this lady asked. Like, this lady is actually pretty good for, especially a MSNBC host. She's giving him a question, like straight up, how are you going to pay for that? That's a lot of money. That's an ambitious plan, which is what we were saying in the beginning. And yeah, I think she actually is on our side a little bit there. And this guy is dodging. Like, this is classic Biden campaign too. Like, everything that they talk about involves Trump. Like, they turn it on Trump. They're like, oh, well, Trump did this, so we could do it. That's basically what we're getting at here. It's very childlike. Like, oh, Trump spent money, so we're going to spend all the money. It's like, no, you can't just get away with this big, overly ambitious plan right out the gate. Like, you're promising to raise our taxes, and that's what they don't want to say. That's why he talks about other stuff. He doesn't want to admit that.
So the idea that we don't have this money to invest in job creation and fighting the climate crisis, Joe Biden thinks that's just wrong. And he will pay for it by actually repealing some of the most egregious elements of those tax cuts, as well as making other tax reforms. The fact is, Stephanie, we actually can't afford not to make these investments, because if we don't, millions of people are going to remain unemployed. The climate crisis is going to get worse, and America's energy bills are just going to keep skyrocketing, which will hurt working families.
Okay, so he kind of started to say it there. Like, he said he's going to repeal the tax cuts, which, that's basically a roundabout way of saying they're going to raise taxes. If you're going to repeal tax cuts, that means what you're doing is raising taxes. And they claim it's just like corporate America and stuff. I mean, I'm not buying any of this, but the direction is, they're just going to tax the corporations. That's their way of like defending it, because they think that, no one likes the corporations. Let's tax them, and that's what their side thinks a lot too. Like, they hate rich people and big companies and billionaires. They always want to try to take money from Jeff Bezos and whatever. Like, they just think the craziest things about money and rich people. And the other thing is, yeah, he's trying to kind of like go around that answer, and then also talking about like, oh, we have to do this. This is to save our lives. We're saving the world. The climate crisis is going to get worse. And that's just like fear mongering to me. Like, I understand, like, I know there's like a climate problem and we should be trying to help it in the background, but I don't see the crisis in it. Like, are people like, I don't see how it's like this, it's not like an earthquake. We're not in like a disaster movie like San Andreas or 2012 or something. Like, that's what they try to put on, and that's how it sounds when he says that, but it's just not like that out there. It's like a very mild, small thing. Like, the temperature of the planet went up like a half a degree, and they're acting like it's the end of the world and we have to spend now.
So this is a good, sensible investment in the long-term vitality of the American economy.
Okay, that about wraps it up. That guy is basically saying they're going to raise taxes. That's a confirmation. They're going to spend it on whatever, like, just making things green, buying more trains and electric cars. And it's just stuff like we're not ready for. It's not infrastructured. It's not time to do this. It's just them kind of trying to get some control, trying to take some money back. Like, they're obviously jealous of what Trump has done. That's why he starts off with that, talking about that. He's like, oh, Trump did this, Trump spent on this, Trump cut taxes, so we're going to reverse that and we're going to spend on something different. Like, our plan is better. But it's really not. I mean, it's like, put this money back into the economy, like make some actual jobs. Like, this guy tried to pretend they're making jobs here, but it's just going to be like BS government jobs related to the environment. Like, they're going to build a new like environmental company for the government to run things. And, that's just not the kind of creation of jobs that we need. It's faking it. It's like, making something out of nothing. And it's just kind of, it sounds like to me like a charity case. Like, it's just like, I don't get it. And, it's not because I don't understand everything. Like, I know about the science. I know that there's truth to the climate change phenomenon. I know that there is change in our planet, but how and why and the details and how to fix it, those are a lot of different questions. And I know that some people want to go and say this is like a kind of climate change, like science denialist kind of angle. That's what they always accuse Trump and us of, being like stupid and we don't understand things. But that's not the case at all. We're just having a bit of nuance with it. We're worried when we see people like Biden saying they're going to promise to raise $2 trillion and they're going to raise our taxes. Like, we're just being more realistic and honest and straightforward too. We're not trying to trick you. We're just trying to get to the bottom of this. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Hit that like button to get this shared, subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell for notifications. Until next time, have a great day.